Yes.
Okay. And we do have technical difficulties, so it is not live streaming. Daniel, can you have Paul post on social media? Okay. All right. Well, sorry for the delay and good afternoon. I'm going to be your chair just temporarily. So I hereby call the Santa Ana Police Oversight meeting to order. This meeting is taking place with in-person attendance at City Hall and council chambers. And additionally, hopefully the public will be able to watch it if it comes on while we're conducting the meeting. If not, it is being recorded and it will be posted for viewing later. Madam Recording Secretary, please conduct the roll call.
Commissioner Carpenter. Commissioner Castillo-Lawton.
Here.
Commissioner Goronsky. Commissioner Mejia.
Present.
Commissioner Perea.
Present.
Commissioner Said. Commissioner Vega.
Present.
Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand and face the flag that's behind you, and I will get us started. Ready? Thank you. We will now move on to the business calendar. So item 1 is just a welcome and an introduction. So commissioners, members of the public and staff, welcome to the inaugural meeting of the Police Oversight Commission. The purpose of the commission is to improve transparency, increase the accountability of and public confidence in our Santa Ana Police Department, and to provide for an independent oversight director. Once engaged, the commission will act through the independent oversight director to provide the chief of police, the city manager, and city council independent investigations of, analysis, and recommendations on police practices, policies, misconducts, officer-involved shootings, and other serious uses of force. We will hear more about the details of the commission, including its powers and duties, in a presentation that you'll receive this afternoon later in the meeting. As commissioners, you play a very important role in advising the city council regarding oversight, positive policy, community relations, and engagements. Since this is the very first meeting, I do want to give the opportunity for each commissioner to briefly introduce themselves and share some remarks. And I will just call you in alphabetical order to do so. And if you can please keep your introductions to 3 minutes or less. And I will start with Commissioner Keith Carpenter.
Hi, my name is Keith Carpenter, a representative from Ward 1. My council person is Ty Fan. I'm hopeful that we can do a lot of good here for the police and myself. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, apparently we are up and streaming, so that is good news. Next, we have Commissioner Gabriel Castillo-Lawton.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Castillo-Lawton. I was appointed by Council Member Jesse Lopez. I'm excited to be part of the commission. I think we're going to do a lot of good work for the community.
Thank you. Commissioner Amali Mejia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amalia Mejia. I was appointed by Councilmember Jonathan Hernandez, and I'm really excited, looking forward to having productive meetings and getting things done. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Carlos Perea.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Perea. I was appointed by Councilmember Benjamin Vasquez for Ward 2, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone in the commission to improve accountability and transparency in the city. Thank you.
Commissioner Nadine Said.
Good afternoon. I'm Nadine Said. I was appointed by Council Member Becerra. Thank you so much for having me as a part of the commission.
And Commissioner Danny Vega.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Vega. I have the honor of being the citywide representative appointed by the Honorable Mayor of Santa Ana, Mayor Valerie Amezcua. I'm really happy to be part of this commission and look forward to doing a lot of good for our city.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to item number 2. Oh, did I miss your name? I'm off to a bad start here. Commissioner Evangeline Garonsky.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, I'm Evangeline Goronsky, and I'm from Ward 6, and I was chosen by Councilmember Penalosa. I've been in this, my family has been here in Santa Ana for 102 years, and I was born here, of course. And some of us are still here in this city, and I love this city of Santa Ana. I have seen it grow from orange groves that I walked through to go to Monterey High School, to go to school every morning, to all the high rises that we have right now. I've always been involved with city programs. My two favorite ones, of course, go back to the police department, which is community-oriented policing, which was a wonderful program here, started in Santa Ana, and also communication linkages, which is known as ComLink, and I've been on that board for close to 30 years, off and on, here and there. While I was citywide president of COP, my motto for them was, what can we do to help you help us? Which was the idea. My idea and our idea was to bring the police department and the city officials through ComLink into the neighborhoods to let the neighborhoods know that they're there to help you and give you a better quality of life. We've always stood behind the police department. And one thing I know I said to them in this room, we had many forums in this room that were always televised, standing room only. It was wonderful, really. That we told the police officers is that we will always stand behind you as long as you're doing what's right. Okay, but those have been my two very favorite items that I have been very involved with here in Santa Ana, and it's to educate the people, to help the people get the help that they need, and to educate them on how to go about taking care of themselves through city help. Thank you.
Now we can move on to,
Okay.
to item number 2. So we are going to
Michelle?
take public comments on agenda item 3, which is to elect a chair and a vice chair. And these are the only comments that we're looking for at this time, because we would like to get that housekeeping item taken care of so that the chair can take over the role that I'm not doing too well with tonight. So with that, is there any public speakers on this item? The item is electing the chair and the vice chair. If you would like to speak on the item, if you could just approach the podium.
Well, good evening, commissioners. It's nice to finally have the inaugural meeting today. I would just like to voice my support for Danny Vega for chair. He has excellent leadership qualities. He's articulate, and I think he'd be a very good asset to this commission. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, we will move on to elect a chair and a vice chair. So now is the opportunity for the commissioners to nominate a chair. We'll do the chair first, and then we'll do the vice chair. How does that sound? So you may nominate one of your peers, or you can nominate yourself. And once all the nominations have been voiced, then I would be looking for a motion to make someone the chair and a second to that motion, and then we will have a vote on that. So are there any nominations? I see Commissioner Pereira's hand up.
Thank you, City Manager Rich. I would like to make a nomination to elect Commissioner Keith as chair.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I can now see you. Commissioner Carpenter, do you have a nomination?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Danny Vega for chair.
I second that motion.
Okay, so we have a first and a second for a chair of Danny Vega. Recording secretary, would you like to take a vote?
Sure, thank you. So we have a nomination by Commissioner Carpenter to nominate Danny Vega as chair, seconded by Commissioner Vega. If you could please voice your vote when you're called upon. Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo-Lawton,
Yes, that's okay with me.
Commissioner Goronsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Mejia, Commissioner Perea,
No.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Vega.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 2 nays, nays by Commissioner Mejia and Commissioner Perea. Motion carries. Commissioner Vega elected as chairperson.
Before Chair Vega takes on the role, we are going to move to the election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair? Commissioner Perea?
Thank you, City Manager. I would like to nominate Commissioner Mejia for Vice Chair.
Okay, and Commissioner Carpenter?
I'd like to nominate myself for vice chair.
I'd like to second Commissioner Carpenter.
Okay, so we have a first and a second for Commissioner Carpenter to be
And I
vice chair.
second my motion as well.
Commissioner Mejia, oh, you're seconding Commissioner Perea's motion? Okay. Okay. Then we'll take the votes in the nomination order the nominations were received. So the first nomination by Councilmember Perea to nominate Commissioner Mejia as the vice chair. Commissioner Carpenter,
No.
Commissioner Castillo-Lawton,
Yes.
Mr. Goronsky,
No.
Commissioner Mejia,
Yes.
Commissioner Perea,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Can we ask a question before we pick?
Certainly.
Okay.
A procedural question, if that's what you were going to ask.
It wasn't, so I won't ask a question. Yes.
Commissioner Vega.
No.
Vote is 4 ayes, 3 nays. We'll take the vote now on the second nomination. Nomination for Commissioner Carpenter to serve as the vice chair. Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo-Lawton,
So I have a question about procedurally how it works when there are competing candidates. Is it okay to vote for another person? Generally?
so the nominations are voted on in the order that they are received. Whichever candidate receives the highest number of affirmative votes would be selected as the vice chair.
Okay. Yes, I'm okay with.
Okay,
Commissioner Goronsky.
we're backing up to Carpenter, is that correct? We've got two conversations going here.
So yes, so the first vote was for Commissioner Mejia to
Yeah.
serve as vice chair, and that was voted on 4-3. Now we are voting on Commissioner Carpenter to serve as vice chair.
Okay, yes.
Commissioner Mejia,
No, and I have a comment. Actually, that's not Robert's Rules of Order. Usually it's the first of, you only get one vote, to my knowledge.
the city council currently uses Rosenberg's.
Okay.
Commissioner Perea,
No.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Vega.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 2 nays, nays by Commissioners Mejia and Perea. Commissioner Carpenter selected as vice chair.
At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Chair Vega.
Thank you, Madam City Manager, and thank you, everybody, for your vote of confidence. We're going to move on to item 4. Now is the time for the commission to receive comments from the public on all other agenda item only. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the commission may not enter into discussion at this time. Speakers will have 3 minutes for their comments. Is there anybody that would like to approach the podium to make a comment?
Chair, that concludes the public speakers.
Thank you. Now we will move on to item 5, overview of the ordinance establishing the Police Oversight Commission. Staff, do we have a presentation?
Yes, commissioners, we do, and I will turn it over to the city attorney's office.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Tamara Bogosian. I'm a Senior Assistant City Attorney with the Santa Ana City Attorney's Office. I'm also assigned as the Police Legal Advisor at the Santa Ana Police Department. So we put together for you a brief PowerPoint presentation. There is a slide at the end that allows questions. So as the city manager indicated, the ordinance was adopted for 3 specific purposes. Obviously, the first, improving transparency, increasing accountability and confidence in the Santa Ana Police Department. And this commission will act through an engaged independent oversight director who will provide both the chief, the city manager, and the city council analysis and recommendations on independent investigations, police practices, police misconduct, officer-involved shootings, and other types of force. So as commissioners, one of the first orders of business will be that you take an oath of confidentiality and execute a confidentiality agreement. The confidentiality agreement will set forth that members shall not divulge, disseminate confidential information, including the identity of witnesses, confidential testimony, or documents, both during and after your term here. You will receive training both internally and externally by members of both the police department and other engaged professionals who will give you training on operations, how the Santa Ana Police Department conducts business, the Santa Ana Police Department's policies, practices, procedures, which are all available online, internal affairs investigations, authorized uses of force, including the use of deadly force, control devices and techniques, uses of conducted energy devices, handcuffing and restraints, detention and arrests of persons, search and seizure issues, de-escalation tactics, vehicle pursuits, how those are handled, and what is required by law, and then the duties, responsibilities, and requirements of all the different ranks and assignments in the police department. As I mentioned, you will receive training both internally and externally. The National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement has trainings that will include constitutional rights and civil liberties, the fundamental procedures of evidence and due process, other procedural rights such as confidentialities afforded to peace officers under the Police Officers Bill of Rights, state use of force standards and what those are, MOUs and police union contracts, labor rights, particularly those to law enforcement officials, in-person implicit bias training, and then best practices in conducting investigations. You will have the opportunity, should you so desire, to also participate in a ride-along with members of the Santa Ana Police Department. That is not mandatory, it's voluntary. I'm going to go over a bit over your responsibilities. So as commissioners, in consultation with the engaged oversight director and the city manager, you will develop rules for how you will be transacting business here as a commission, including how the manner of calling and giving notice for special meetings and general meetings, the appointment and powers of ad hoc committees or subcommittees that you potentially would like to form, how you're going to keep records, resolutions, rules, transactions, motions, findings, recommendations, and determinations, except of course those that are confidential by law. Your records, this commission's records will be open to the public, and your reports ultimately, when those are issued, will be posted on a website, on the city's website, and open for public inspection, except again, information that is deemed confidential by law, and that those portions will be redacted. The city council will also adopt rules on how they will transact business with this commission. So obviously we're here today. This is your first inaugural meeting, and that is because we now have a sufficient number of commissioners to constitute a quorum. The city manager or her designee will attend these meetings and provide staff support. The chief or his designee will also attend these meetings, and you will see here today that Assistant Chief Robert Rodriguez and Commander Jose Gonzalez is present here today. You also decide the time and place for your regularly scheduled meetings, but at the very minimum, you must meet at least once a month. So now I'm going to go over more of your powers and duties. You will review, evaluate, and make recommendations to the chief and the council on policies, practices, and procedures. You will develop programs for positive community relations and engagement, and you will make recommendations to the city manager and the city council. There are procedures in place listed in the ordinance about how the city manager, the time frame the city manager shall submit a response to this commission, and how extensions are provided for by 30 days. If the commission is dissatisfied with the response received, they may submit recommendations directly to the city council. You will also have the ability to receive, hear, and review misconduct complaints, tort claims that are filed with the city as it relates to the police department, lawsuits filed against Santa Ana Police Department employees, officials, and any on-duty Santa Ana officer conduct that involves the following categories. Officer involved shootings, which is a discharge of a firearm at a person that results in death. In custody deaths, uses of force that result in great bodily injury, activities or engagement where there is prejudice or discrimination alleged, dishonesty allegations, sexual assault, unlawful arrest, search under the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable or excessive force, failure to intervene when one officer is using force that's clearly excessive or unreasonable, and then other unlawful activities, conduct that interfere with First Amendment assembly rights. Now we're going to talk about the oversight director's role. Once an oversight director is engaged, they will review and investigate these complaints that come in that are timely filed and submitted. The oversight director does have authorization to subpoena witnesses, and this authorization comes from the city council and only the city council to subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, and compel the production of evidence for their independent investigation. And at the conclusion of the investigation, the director will submit a report with findings and recommendations to this commission, both orally and in writing. So all complaints that are reviewed by this commission must be in writing, but they may be anonymous. The commission is not authorized to retroactively conduct investigations of complaints. So obviously that means going back. A copy of each complaint, tort claim, or lawsuit that alleges misconduct shall immediately be forwarded to this commission, to the oversight director and the city manager in chief. And no complaint will be accepted, reviewed, or investigated by this commission within 1 year after the alleged misconduct. All commission discussions with the engaged oversight director regarding alleged misconduct will be held in closed session, and those rules and procedures will be provided to you at that time on how closed session is handled and the confidentiality of closed session. And then there is a requirement for 10 days advance written notice when an officer will be discussed in closed session, and the ability to have legal counsel. So more powers and duties of this commission. You can direct the oversight director to independently review and investigate citizen complaints. You can authorize the oversight director to audit complaint files and review policies. You can advise the mayor, the council, the city manager, and the chief on community relations involving the police department. You can review MOUs between the city and police unions, such as the Santa Ana Police Officers Association and the Police Management Association, and provide suggestions and recommendations regarding negotiations. And of course, like today, you may conduct public meetings, educate the community about the commission, provide a forum for discussions on policies and procedures, and then perform all other duties as requested by council. Now, the commissioner's role after receiving a report from the oversight director, you may, but are not required to, direct the oversight director to investigate a complaint further. You can forward the commission's findings and recommendations regarding the complaint to the city manager. You can make only disciplinary recommendations to the chief and the city manager when a complaint against an officer has been sustained. but you do not have the authority to impose any discipline on any member of the Santa Ana Police Department. And then again, there's also the ability within 60 days after receiving the recommendation, the chief or the city manager can submit a response to you. And they can also request an extension for that response. If you're dissatisfied with the response, again, you may submit your recommendations directly to the city council. So there will be an annual report that will go to the council, on the commission's activities, findings, and recommendation. And without going into detail here on this slide, there are quite a bit of statistics that the annual report will include but not limited to the number of investigations, how many complaints have been sustained versus not sustained, disciplinary recommendations made, and complaints that may be referred to other agencies. The reports or the recommendations that are submitted will include such things as budgetary allocation, collective bargaining agreements, training, and items of that nature. So the oversight director will assist this commission in a very robust way, how it's going to perform its duties and exercise its powers. The oversight director will also have the ability to receive and review complaints, again, tort claims and lawsuits. When directed by this commission, the oversight director will conduct investigations of on-duty Santa Ana officer alleged misconduct, again, on the same categories as I mentioned before, such things as officer-involved shootings and custody deaths, and so on. The oversight director does have the authority to request and review citizen complaints and use of force reports to determine whether or not the police action resulted in death or great bodily injury. However, no investigations will be commenced on incidents that occurred prior to the ordinance. The oversight director will also conduct audits of investigations in a fair and impartial manner and comply with all laws as it relates to police officer procedural bill of rights. They will also prepare a written report of each investigation that will constitute a public record. Again, they may discuss confidential and privileged information with the commission in closed session, and the report must comply with all applicable laws. After this commission has reviewed the oversight director's report, the public record of the investigation will be posted publicly on the public website within 30 days. All disclosure of investigations conducted by the oversight director will comply with applicable laws. And of course, the oversight director may discuss findings with this commission and or the public in strict compliance with all applicable laws. The commission and the oversight director will have complete and prompt access to all department records, information, and data to assist this commission and the director in effectively discharging their duties. You will have access to audio and video recordings such as body-worn camera footage, photographs, police reports, 911 calls, dispatch records, dispatch logs, and other stop data under the Racial and Identity Profiling Act. The department will ensure that staff is designated to receive and process the requests in a timely manner. And that completes my presentation. I am available for questions as it relates to the ordinance and the powers and duties of this commission. Thank you. Yes.
Can I ask you right now?
Yes.
What is a tort claim? I'm not
A
familiar with
tort
that.
claim, that is an excellent question. A tort claim is a requirement for a person that is going to file a lawsuit against a public entity. It's a prerequisite to a lawsuit. They must file a tort claim if they're seeking damages. There are exceptions to tort claim requirements, but for the most part, a tort claim is required prior to filing a lawsuit against a public entity.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have two questions. One, I'm curious about whether the meetings that are in closed session, will they ever become public within a certain amount of time?
Closed session discussions do not become public. Under the Brown Act, there are certain situations and circumstances where information from a decision made in closed session will be released publicly, but that is on a case-by-case basis and only in strict compliance with the Brown Act.
got it. Yeah, it was basically decision-making processes that I was mostly interested. And my other question is, you kind of briefly mentioned it, but I wanted to get clarity on this.
Sure.
If there's somebody in the community who reaches out to us about a complaint and they have already filed this complaint to the department, what is our, I guess, what are our capacity to do something about it, or what is a protocol?
Sure. If the individual has already filed a complaint and the entire complaint process on how to file a complaint against a peace officer is on the Santa Ana Police Department's website, it would be your preference if you would like to also lodge that complaint with an indication that it's previously been submitted so that the two essentially track together. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Perea.
Thank you. Thank you, City Attorney Bogosian. Very, very helpful. I have a question regarding the commission's ability to conduct public meetings. So in theory, the commission could, in addition to commission meetings, standing commission meetings, hold additional meetings or town halls with community in different parts of the city to hear communities' issues or concerns about relating to the police department?
There are strict requirements under the Brown Act about what is considered a meeting. And so we would have to ensure that this commission complies with those rules. But to the extent that members of the community would like to engage certain members of this commission without it becoming a meeting, then I do not believe that there is anything that necessarily precludes that, but each situation will be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
Yes. This commission will have the support of the Santa Ana City Attorney's Office and specifically an attorney assigned to provide legal advice to this commission. Yes.
Interesting.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you again for that detailed report. Now we will move on to item 6, set recurring monthly meeting schedule. Do we have any instructions from staff?
Yes, Chair Vega, we have Daniel Soto from the City Manager's Office that will provide information on this item.
Thank you, Christine, and good afternoon, members of the Police Oversight Commission. Thank you for responding to the availability form that I sent out. This will help guide your discussion on the time that you'd like to select for your recurring meeting schedule. The ordinance establishing the commission requires that you meet at least monthly. And looking at the availability that you all shared with me individually, you collectively are most available during the first and second weeks of each month, followed by the third and fourth week. And looking at your availability, you all have some availability on Mondays from 12 to 8 p.m. and on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please note that looking at your responses, the group is not entirely available on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So keep in mind that for weeks 1 and weeks 2, you have availability, and our facilities will have availability on the first Monday of every month between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. and on the second Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you may now discuss and consider a recurring meeting schedule, keeping in mind those times and at least once per month. Thank you.
What was Monday again? I'm sorry, the first?
First Monday from 12 p.m.
12.
to 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
and the second Thursday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm gonna open it up for discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Perea.
Thank you, Chair Vega. My only comment on this is that I will prefer for the commission meetings to be held in the afternoon, if possible, late afternoon, to make sure that we have community participation. Most of our folks work during the day. I think that leans towards Thursday afternoons. But yes, that will be my preference.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Said.
I would second that. I think some of us here also work, so anything in the afternoon, late afternoon would be preferred. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Castillo.
It's Castillo Lawton. I have two last names. I would prefer to meet in the evening, late afternoon or evening. So seconding what my colleagues have said.
Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Mejia.
Yeah, just one thing, I'm okay with evenings. One thing to keep in mind, and maybe this is a question for Daniel. If it's a holiday, because usually first Mondays tend to be holidays, can we still hold a meeting or are we not able to? Because if that's the case, then maybe Thursday might be a better option.
Thank you, Commissioner. My understanding is that when we have city holidays and our city facilities are closed and our staff is not working, those public meetings that would or could ordinarily be scheduled on those dates and times are canceled. And that is reflected in a calendar that that may be considered by this legislative body, by the commission, to reflect that that meeting that could or would ordinarily take time or take place at that time would be canceled.
Chair, yeah, Mondays are not good for me, but the afternoons are good for me, so I'm okay with afternoons, but Mondays are not a good day for me, so Thursday is my preference.
Thank you for your comment. I think what I'm hearing is that everybody is available on Thursday in the evenings. Does anybody have a preferred set time for Thursday evening? Go ahead, Commissioner Castillo-Lawton.
I would recommend 6 p.m.
I second that.
Same.
I think 6 is a little late. I think that's unfair to the public because if the meeting runs long, people have to go to work in the morning. I think 3 or 4 is a more reasonable time, 4 preferably. I think a lot of people get off work around 3 and can make 4 or 5 even, but I think when you get too late in the afternoon and you have public comment, it makes for a very late evening for people.
And plus, if I can add to that, Comlink just changed their general meeting to 6 o'clock. And I live in the south part of town, down by Eddinger. And it took me forever to come up Flower because 6 o'clock is a bad time for traffic. I'd prefer it to be like 4 or 5 or 3 or whatever, too, if you're going to go on a Thursday.
Commissioner Perea, go ahead.
Thank you. I think for me, and I stated at a lot of our community works 9 to 5 jobs, and so we'll prefer for the meetings to be held closer to 6 p.m.
Go ahead, Commissioner Said.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, so does anybody want to motion a time? Go ahead, Commissioner Castillo-Lawton.
I will motion 5 p.m. We can split the difference. And that way, most people in the community can still make the meeting, but we can accommodate councilmen or commissioners that also have to work.
Would that be Thursday, correct?
Thursday at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
I would second that.
Okay, can we take a roll call or a vote?
There's a motion by Commissioner Castillo-Lawton to hold the meetings on the second Thursday of each month at 5 p.m., seconded by Commissioner Carpenter. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo-Lawton?
Yes.
Commissioner Gawronski?
Yes.
Commissioner Mejia?
Yes.
Commissioner Perea?
Yes. I also have a question to note as well on that. Have we established also the frequency of meetings? Are they going to be monthly, bi-weekly?
So per the ordinance, Commissioner, your meetings are monthly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Said?
No.
Commissioner Vega?
Yes.
The vote is 6 ayes, 1 nay, nay by Commissioner Said. Motion carries. Meetings would be scheduled once a month on the second Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Thank you. And that concludes the business calendar. We are now on item 7, staff comments. Do we have any comments from staff?
Thank you, Chair. I would like Daniel Soto to give you just some brief comments on where we are with the Independent Oversight Director, if you don't mind, Daniel.
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, members of the commission. We currently have a competitive request for proposals open for the independent oversight director, who will be an independent contractor that will report directly to the city council as outlined in the ordinance establishing the commission. The proposals were initially due today, but we extended the RFP submittal time for an additional 2 weeks. So the proposals for the independent oversight director will be due October 20th at 4 p.m. Once the submittals come in, our staff will review those. We'll share the responsive results with our city council. Our city council will review and select their top 3 applications. Once those top 3 are selected, those top 3 will be forwarded to the commission for the commission to review, and the commission may make a recommendation among those 3 back to the city council. And as outlined in the ordinance, the city council will select and appoint the independent oversight director. As the competitive RFP process moves forward, we will provide you with additional updates. Thank you.
Question? May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yaronska, you heard? What I wanted to ask is, what kind of background does the director have? Is it a Santa Ana person involved with the police and person involved with the community, or what's the background of the director to be?
So Commissioner, what we can do, since this is the time for just comments and not really a question and answer, since it's not on the agenda, but what we will do is we will provide each of you a copy of the RFP. And I think that will answer all of your questions.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Do we have any further comments from staff? No? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to item 8, commissioner comments. Do we have any comments from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Mejia.
Yeah, I would like to request data, maybe if possible, 1 year or 3 if possible, but individual level data, not aggregate, on use of force, arrest, and all the RIPA data as well. I know RIPA is public, but it's not differentiated between the Santa Ana specifically, so I would like to have that information.
Would anybody else like to make a closing comment? Go ahead, Commissioner Perea.
Thank you. Just general comments. I'm looking forward for this commission to really dive into the work of ensuring that the public has trust with the city. One of the things that and the way that I will be approaching this commission for my fellow commission members to know and for community to understand is really looking at what's the impact that the police department, whether it's positive or negative, it has on all over Santa Ana residents. As a young person, as a person that grew up in the city, my experience is probably different from many of my colleagues here as an undocumented immigrant youth, Latino growing up in the city is very different. So that's the spirit that I'll be carry on in this commission. And with that, as a city manager, I know this is not a conversation, but rather some comments on data I would like to see in the future. I know that the city has previously released data on the cost of police lawsuit settlements. But I believe the cost does not include the internal cost of staff time. I believe those might have included the amount that has been paid out to victims, families, people that have sued the city, along with other external costs. But I believe those do not include the staff time that goes under city resources that goes into that overall cost. So I would love to see that data for the span of if possible, of 10 years. And I think that will provide us, the commission, with a better understanding on the cost of this incidents. So that will conclude my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would anybody else like to make a comment? Closing comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here, and I think we have a great opportunity to do something for the people and for the police department. I think we need to keep our focus on that. We're here for the people. And we're here to make things better for everybody. And not the police are people too. So we gotta work together here. And I hope this doesn't become as contentious as our council has become. That's not my intention. I intend to cooperate fully and quite simply get to the truth and resolve things. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Vice Chair. Would anybody else like to make a comment? Nope. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my comments. I want to first thank the public for and those tuning in for joining us at this historic meeting, and a big thank you to the staff who put in so much work to get this up and running. In our ordinance, it mentions to bring confidence into our police departments. It also states to develop programs and strategies to promote positive police community relations. Every day when I leave to go to work, I pray that God keeps my family safe at home. Whenever a police officer puts on that uniform to patrol the streets of Santa Ana, their family too likely prays that God brings that officer home safe. Therefore, there is mutual gain for police and community to come together and strengthen that bond. Why? Crime flourishes in neighborhoods where the bond between community and police is broken. We need the police and they need us, which is why I make a commitment to the residents of Santa Ana that I will do my very best to contribute to the success of this commission so that one day you all will look at us and say, we don't need you anymore. Let's invest that $1 million somewhere else, like a tiger exhibit at Santa Ana Zoo. Just kidding. With that, I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
Can we take a roll call?
A vote on adjourning is not actually necessary as long as there's concurrence from the commission. The chair can adjourn the meeting.
Okay, then I will adjourn the meeting. The time is 4:17 p.m. With no further business before the commission, I hereby adjourn the commission meeting. The next commission meeting will be held November 9th at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope we're here.